why is Mario so good at this? I'll just ask it plain flat out like that.
What do you think, Mike?
I think college football is moving more towards the head coaches being a CEO than a coach per se. The most successful coach in recent memory is Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not always Alabama's play caller, but he's always their lead recruiter, and he's always making sure they make the right hires of their position coaches and their coordinators. He's, instead of being a X's and O's coach, he's being the CEO of a program. He's being the general manager per se. He's basically taking the team and controlling every aspect, make sure they have quality pieces around them so that all the players are set up for success. Whereas you have old school coaches like, for Oregon's sake, Chip Kelly, a play caller who maybe doesn't make the best hires, isn't too fond of recruiting, and it's basing it purely on innovation when it comes to play calls and the offense for that period for Oregon. I think he's been a general manager. He's been able to make sure we have quality pieces in every spot, and I think that's just been huge. It's following the path of a lot of successful programs.
It's a great point, Mike. I really think Cristobal is just so intense on recruiting. I think the recruiting never stops. I do agree. There was probably a previous era where maybe recruiting kind of had a point in the year where they focused on it more than other times. With this group, they're focusing on it every single day, 365. They bring kids in immediately. Those kids are starting to recruit the next kids. It just does not stop. And the focus on recruiting is at such a paramount level right now for Oregon. Is now we're trying to see, okay, well, what's going to be the payoff here? You're going to hopefully stack up 3 or 4 different recruiting classes, which is something really Oregon never was able to do before. They might have had 1 or 2 here and there, but to stack up 3 or 4 in a row is going to be a real game changer. And you can see if it happens on the field. You know, the discussion right now with Cristobal is he a better recruiter than a coach? Like Mike said, I think he just went out in the last calendar year and hired 2 really good coaches to run the offense and defense. And just like what Mike was saying about being a CEO, I think Cristobal is going to stay out of the way, and I think he's just an absolute dog on the recruiting trail. I think these guys are targeting people very early on. I also do think that their method of recruiting has changed dramatically from the old Mike Bellotti, Chip Kelly era, where they pick and choose a couple players to go after. These guys now are literally just blanket recruiting across the board. They're sending offers to a tremendous amount of players. And in that case, I think they're in a lot of people's top 8, top 10, top 5, whatever, because of that. They might not get a lot of those players at the end of the day. Like Mike was saying, we're competing against, Texas and LSU and Alabama and all these other, Ohio State. They're all looking for the same kids. But at least we're in that running, when those kids post on their Instagram, they're top 5 or top 8 or top 10 or whatever the hell it is. Oregon's there.
Ryan, the narrative you gave it in regards to just it being a grind, exhausting, relentless comes to mind. The successful coaches and coaching staffs, they're relentless. It's just nonstop, and it's a grind. I know that these guys are making decent money. There's no question about that. But my goodness, I don't envy them in regards to just the nonstop process and what it's become year in, year out across the board. And of course, there are times in which they can't formally reach out to the recruits, and it gives the coaching staffs a bit of a break as it does the recruits. And that's why it was designed specifically to help the student athletes. But you have to be relentless in addition to having a strategy and a game plan, and then building relationships, in addition to having, of course, the support of the school, the administration, the facilities, the money, and yes, the resources to get it done. It's pretty of a fascinating process, even though I don't follow it on a daily basis. By extension, through you guys, I certainly have to and do. And my thanks go to the guys like this. So we're building an Oregon channel here, but I would definitely be remiss to say, get to Sports Chat 503 with Ryan Winter first and foremost. No question about that. That's your Oregon content, as well as fifth quarter college football, the Oregon site. And once we pull up Mike and his banner, you'll see his Twitter handle with Oregon football content there as well. Good stuff.